I met up with a former work colleague of mine earlier this week, and I asked him, what are your top 3 culture issues that you have right now? And his answer was meetings, meetings, meetings. Now, I'd love to tell you that this is rare, it's the first time that I've heard it. I'd love to reassure him that it's completely unique, I'm sure I'm solve it. And yet, I still think it's one of the key issues that certainly office-based, and I use that term loosely these days, organizations are wrestling with right now. And meetings don't just affect productivity, is they have the opportunity to really kill culture. So what I'm going to do is for the next 10, 12 minutes or so, is just talk you through, if you're in this position where kind of meetings are really bogging you down, what you can actually do. And it's not just kind of what I would call corporate organizations. I spoke to an athlete on a sports team recently, and they had the same issue with their particular coach and the meetings that they had to prepare about the games and to talk about the games and talk about opponents and all of these kinds of things. You know, what I said to this particular individual is some meetings are necessary, and they didn't disagree with that. And the same is true in the corporate world as well, government world, is that, and having been an employee and a manager myself, I know that some meetings are necessary. Some meetings are necessary. And I think if you ask most employees, they would agree that that's the case. There's this recognition that yes, from time to time, we have to get together to actually agree some things. It's just the nature of them, I think, that's a problem. The metaphor that I often use, like being stuck in a traffic jam, meetings is like being stuck in a traffic jam. You kind of know the destination. When you start, everyone's going the same way. And then all of a sudden, things start to get snarled up a little bit. And you've lost all momentum. Things come to a grinding halt. Then there's usually some idiot who tries to do something ridiculous in a traffic jam, and everyone's like rolls their eyes. Then you've got people constantly changing lanes, and ultimately it just ends up in this huge ball of frustration. Now, Doodle did some research on meetings, and they found that 75% of people said that meetings were frustrating. And I think a lot of people would agree with that. Microsoft did some research as well around meetings and found that meetings, emails and chat take up 57% of a person's day. 57%, which means that they're only available for, focused work for 43% of the time. And that's assuming that they're able to work 100% of the time, which people aren't. On average, it's about 78% of the time. So you take 57% off 78% and you're left with 23% to actually do your job, which means that because of all of the meetings, people have to work evenings, possibly weekends, which of course leads to burnout, which leads to an increase in mental health issues, leads to an increase in sick leave, and consequently there's an impact not only on engagement, because people can't stand the meetings, but also on productivity. And the leaders are still scratching their heads going, how do we get more out of the people that we've got? Stop having so many meetings would be a good start. So what can you do? I think, that's the thing. Well, I think what you can do is recognize that you have a choice, and those of you who've been following me for a while, you know that you get the culture that you choose to build. But also as an individual, you have a choice, and it doesn't matter where you sit in the hierarchy. You've got an opportunity to do some things differently. I also want to recognize, before I get into the kind of a list of things that you can do, that we have lost the opportunity just to walk past someone's desk and pop in and say hello. Again, if you're working in a more hybrid role. And I think what you can do to address these kind of things is to make agreements with each other about how you're going to interact, what you're going to do. If you've got an idea, how do you present that? Are you going to use Teams chat? Are you going to call someone on a video call? And just because you can use your camera doesn't mean you should always use your camera. And so I think, when it comes to meetings, what happened? Although I was going to say what happened post-COVID, but actually this trend had started before COVID. there'll be people listening to this going, I had too many meetings in 2019. Let's not blame COVID. And I think what happened was teams just exacerbated an issue that had already started to bubble and come to the fore. Someone was talking to me about AI. It's like, oh, meetings will change with AI. I'm not sure they will, to be honest. I think because humans love to sit around a table and waste loads of time. Yes, AI can take minutes so that we don't have to put the emphasis on one individual wasting their time doing it. Although if you're going to do that, make sure that you turn the microphone off afterwards so it doesn't just record everything forever and a day. And so I think our relationship with meetings needs to change. I think ultimately, what you need to get to the point is where you're having fewer higher quality meetings. And this is what I said to the athlete that I talked to, 3 or 4 meetings kind of after you finish training, feels like a lot, feels like too many. If I was working with the head coach, I'd say, listen, what's the one meeting that we can have that's of high quality, that we can involve people, etc., etc. I think often meetings, what happens is people just talk at people. And depending on the kind of culture that I'm working with, depends the kind of the meetings that you actually see. So when I kind of asked to work with stagnant cultures, a lot of people just ignore meeting requests, or they just don't bother showing up. In pleasant cultures, what you get is lots of people getting invited to the meeting, and then lots of people just don't talk and see it as a massive waste of time. In combatant cultures, you have meetings where people are openly disagreeing and literally fighting over the table, which kind of decreases the safety for anybody to raise anything. But what you want to get to in vibrant cultures, they pretty much agree exactly how meetings should be run, and they focus on fewer, higher quality meetings. So actually when they do get together, they really, really enjoy it. So 8 P's of great meetings. So the first P is purpose. So why are we having this meeting and why are we having it now? And if you're going to use technology, send out a meeting invite, then the purpose needs to be really, really clear. Right? It needs to be clear in the agenda. It needs to be clear on the email along with the agenda. I'll come to the agenda in a second. So purpose, why this meeting, why now? So that when somebody gets it, they go, oh, I understand why we're doing this. The second P is for people. You want to invite the right people at the right time. Not all of the people for all of the time. Now, straight away, I've just added 2 things there. You might think this sounds like a lot of work. Well, what are you interested in here? Do you want to set up fewer meetings really, really well? Or do you just want to be lazy, throw a load of stuff in everyone's calendars, and then for people not turn up and it just be completely unproductive? What do you want to do? So if you're having something that's longer than, 50 minutes, do you need all of the people there all of the time? So that's what I mean by the right people at the right time. Yes, you're going to time box it. Colin, you can come in at 3:20 for argument's sake. The third thing the third P is preparation. So people have to have enough time to be able to prepare for the conversation that they're about to have. One of my bugbears as a senior manager, you used to get a pack of information literally printed off the day before a 3-hour meeting. And of course, as you would expect, I said, well, there's no way I'm reading this. Oh, well, you need to read it ahead of the meeting. I was like, the meeting's at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. It's now 5:30. I've been waiting for this all day. I've got to get a 45-minute train ride home. Then I've got to have dinner with my family, leaving me about an hour before I go to bed because I have to be up at 7 to get the train and it's not happening. So there has to be enough time for people to prepare the meeting. A great thing to do here is have a rule as a team, no same-day meetings. The fourth thing is priorities. And so this is your agenda. And what you're going to do is you're going to make sure that the most important things are first. Otherwise, you end up running out of time. And at that stage, what you've got is you're kind of trying to cram the most important things right at the end. And you never kind of want to get to that point because all of a sudden everything will feel just a little bit rushed. The fifth P is participation. Everybody that gets invited to the meeting gets a say. Everybody, without question. And this is when you find out whether you've got too many people or not. All right, so everybody gets a say. Also, if you're attending a meeting, come ready to participate. Don't just sit there quietly. You've been invited to a reason. If all of these things have been done properly, then your job is to participate. Number 6, promises. The sixth P is promises. So if you've been given an action in a previous meeting, your job is to do the action so that when you're asked, have you delivered it, you have. Also, if you're the meeting chair, you should be asking people if they've done stuff before you get to the meeting, not in the meeting. It shouldn't be a complete surprise. The promises should always be the things that are agreed at the very last point of the meeting before you all log off, switch off, leave the room. The seventh P is punctuality. Every meeting starts on time, every time. None of this, well, just wait for the last person to arrive. No, we won't. No, we won't. In fact, we're going to make a point of being on time because we're doing these things properly. Can't be doing with meetings that start late. A real lack of discipline. And it's even worse when it's the chair of the meeting. What does it say about the way that you organize yourself if you can't even... I had a conversation with someone a few years back now. They wanted me to help them with a particular project that had gone badly. And I was like, of course. And they asked me to attend a meeting, and I attended the meeting, and it started 10 minutes late. Anyway, I cut a long story short. At the end, the chief operating officer said to me, oh, Colin, you attended the meeting. What do you think? I was like, you can't start a meeting on time. You've got no chance of delivering a project on time. She didn't know what to say. I was like, it's true. If you can't start a meeting on time, how are you going to hit that milestone? You've got no chance. So many people making excuses. Anyway, the last P is present. Nobody on a phone. Close down all applications. No one tapping away on a keyboard. Have you seen that on virtual meetings? It's terrible. When people are in the same room, no phones in front of you. You know, every time I start working with a new client, it's one of the things I'm really clear about. I need you present for this moment in time for us to agree what needs to be done. You can do whatever you want in your own meetings, but for this meeting, you'd expect it of me, the culture guy, to make sure that we do things well. Meetings are really dangerous to your culture. They can properly kill it. They can kill productive time. They can kill engagement. They really, really can. They can suck the life out of your employees. You've got this opportunity every day to reset and do meetings differently. You know, for those of you who've followed me in the past and know my work, it only takes 15% of a workforce to be really, really committed to doing something differently to change it. Why not make that your meetings? Hope you've enjoyed today's session.